Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is 8:06 a.m. in East Africa, Kenya. And I hope you're having a fantastic day. I hope you're enjoying your day so far, so good. Today, I want us to have a discourse about the situation of South Africa. What is happening in South Africa? Honestly, I have no idea. I have no idea why South Africans decided that the best way to build their country is by ensuring that they annihilate all foreign citizens who lived in South Africa. Guys, if you're not familiar with the South African situation, there is, I don't know, is it a significant amount of people? But there is this group of South Africans who have decided to just become bigoted and xenophobic, and now they are blaming all their problems on other foreign Africans who reside in South Africa. And they have given them notices, they have threatened them, and now most of foreign Africans living in South Africa have been made to flee South Africa and go back to their countries. People from Malawi, people from Nigeria, Ghana. We've been watching this video, like these people just walking around the streets, threatening people, destroying other Africans' businesses just because they feel like those people are taking all the opportunities in South Africa. Now, I have a question. I have to ask you a very important question, something that I think is fundamental in today's conversation. What does it take to build a great country? What exactly does it take to build a great country? Because in my opinion, I think you need a strong economy. You need institutions that can independently function by themselves, and when they are required to be co-independent, they can also coexist together with ease and great degree of efficiency. Now, most of the problems that most of African countries are going through is institution problems, okay? They have these institutions that maybe don't really work that well, they're not that efficient, or in some cases, African countries do not have any institutions at all. But in the case of South Africa, South Africa is one of the most advanced country in the African continent, okay? When it comes to technology, when it comes to culture, when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to education, when it comes to healthcare, South Africa is one of the most advanced country in the African continent. And we've always perceived South Africa as some sort of a beacon of light, okay? Some sort of a hope or something, okay? I mean, when Kenyans travel to South Africa, they immediately notice the difference between the infrastructure in South Africa and the infrastructure in Kenya. There's a very big difference between the infrastructure, okay? Their roads are, are well constructed and properly maintained. Their telecommunication over there is way more advanced. People, like, they live a decent life compared to Kenya. They drive very luxurious cars. So you can tell that these people are not struggling, okay? These people are not struggling. They are somewhere, okay? Like, the economy is doing well. People are doing well over there in South Africa. What South Africans fail to understand is that those opportunities they claim other Africans have stolen from them were opportunities that were made. I mean, those opportunities were not always there. Most of these Africans have had to create those opportunities themselves, okay? So you walk into a country, you notice a problem that nobody is ready to address, or most people are just ignoring. And these Ethiopians, these Tanzanians, they go over there, they start small, addressing these very niche problems, these very small problems. and the market rewards them for that. The thing about the market is that, especially in capitalism, nobody gives a shit about where you come from, okay? As long as you're addressing a specific problem, as long as you're helping someone make their life a little bit easier on a daily basis, they will automatically reward you. Now, what South Africans are failing to understand is that if they are not going to do exactly the same thing the foreign Africans they are chasing away from their country did, they will not prosper. Those opportunities they claim Africans stole from them will not benefit them. Okay? As a matter of fact, they won't even notice that opportunities exist because those opportunities have always been there. But it took the intervention of other Africans for those opportunities to be exploited. Now, my question is, are South Africans going to be richer, okay, economically, financially stable after chasing these people? Now, there's this guy, his name is Malema. He asked a very important question, a question that every single South African should be pondering on and find answers, or at least try to find answers to. Malema asked South Africans, since you've annihilated a couple of fellow Africans from your country, have you created more opportunities from that? Have you now started exploiting those opportunities those Africans who are benefiting from? And the answer is no. Because South Africans do not know how to do such a thing, bro. That is why there's this theory, a very popular theory in our culture, that goes, even if you collect all the money from the millionaires and the billionaires and the trillionaires and the tycoons of this world, you take all their resources, you put them together, and then you start distributing those resources equally to each and every single human being on this planet. After a month or two, that money will go back to where it came from. That's exactly what happens. Like there is seeing someone with resources, and then there is knowing how to exploit resources, and then there is know how to advance your position in the market. Those are very different things, and it takes skills, it takes grit, it takes discipline, it takes a great amount of intelligence. It's not just, okay, there's an opportunity here, now I need to take this opportunity and benefit. That is the one thing that South Africans do not understand, okay? Things are not black and white. Annihilating Africans from South Africa is not going to advance their position in their own economy. It's not going to happen. Never. And I think that's the exact same thing that the likes of Hitler did in Nazi Germany. Because there was this particular moment in history whereby Germans were going through, a great deal of confusion and frustration. And they couldn't understand, why are things so difficult in their own country? Why are the Germans poor? Okay, why are they destitute and desperate in their own country? So Hitler came up with a narrative, and he was like, hey, guys, you know what? I figured it out. The problem is that we have too many Jews in our economy. We have too many Jews in our country, and these guys are causing all these problems. These, societal problems, these economic problems, these financial problems. These guys are causing even political problems. Now, the solution to our problems is to annihilate them. We have to eliminate them. We have to eradicate them from our country. And that is what led to one of the darkest moments in the history of humanity. So I think it's history repeating itself. But this time around, it's happening in Africa. I don't appreciate such a thing because it just shows how ignorant people are and how allergic they are to reason. These people are not, I don't want to say they are not educated, but I don't think if they are enlightened. I just don't see a rational human being doing such a thing. I don't see someone who went to school and actually understands how socioeconomics works and how the economy works doing such a thing. Like, this is maybe for politics, it makes sense for politics, but for economy, it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense from an economic standpoint. It doesn't. Okay? Now, back to the conversation of how to build a country. Okay? That's a very important conversation. And I already say that, we need institutions. Okay? Among many other things. We need institutions and infrastructure. Among many other things. You look at countries such as China. You look at countries such as Singapore. I'm not going to use the US because the US, like, I realize that America is not that developed. Compared to other countries, you have a lot to do. America, okay, pull up your socks. You're not there yet, okay? Like the likes of Japan, the likes of Singapore, the likes of China, these guys are doing miracles over there, okay? They are doing miracles. So from now onwards, I'll be using China and other Asian countries as the examples of development. America, maybe Norway. Yeah, Norway is also a very advanced country, especially with regards to how they have structured their, infrastructure and how the future generation is going to benefit from what is happening and the resources that are being extracted from Norway as we speak. Like, that was a brilliant idea. I'm talking about this sovereign wealth fund, okay? That's a brilliant idea. Now, talking about how to build a country. My president, okay, I live in Kenya, by the way. If you're not aware, now you are. My president, William Samoei Ruto, has been, getting a significant degree of backlash. People have been accusing him of all sorts of things. But sometimes you listen to him, listen to his ideas and some of the things that he's doing, and you can't help it but wonder, are people just not getting him? Are people not seeing his vision or something? Because one of the things that guy is doing is establishing a proper or a reliable and affordable sheltering infrastructure or housing infrastructure. And I'm like, well, as Kenyans, we might be feeling the pain of setting up this infrastructure right now, but later, when we actually start using these houses, maybe we will appreciate what this guy is doing right now. Okay? Maybe the only reason why we are so vocal and we have this accusatory tone and we are just attacking the president each and every single day is because we don't see his vision. And maybe the reason why we don't see his vision is his communication team and the PR team is not doing a great job communicating to Kenyans, elaborating to Kenyans, demonstrating to Kenyans the idea or the vision of the president. Maybe that is the greatest point of our contention with the president. Okay, that is where we agree. We disagree with him is because we don't see what he's seeing right now. And he was talking about some of the ideas he has. Okay, he wants to set up at least 5 manufacturing companies in Kenya, companies that manufacture shoes. And just the other day, I saw the president launch a company that will be responsible for the assembling of phone parts, therefore, there will be some phones being manufactured in Kenya, or at least assembled in Kenya, and maybe those phones will be affordable, stuff like that. So this guy is on to something. He's talking about, building more roads, world-class roads, to improve accessibility and networking in Kenya. And I'm like, okay, well, those are very good ideas. Those are very good ideas. But why are Kenyans still not getting it? Why are Kenyans so intolerant? Why are Kenyans so rigid on their position that the president is doing nothing but hurt the country? Yes, I agree with that. But maybe we should also look at the other side of the coin and see what is happening over there. And maybe we might get a thing or two to appreciate. Because leading anything, even your household, let alone leading a country, leading anything, including your household, is such a difficult thing. Like, I know you're familiar with the stress that comes with, leading people. Okay, you're a man or you're a woman, and you have these responsibilities in your home. You have rent to pay. You have rent to pay. You have kids, tuition to take care of. You have clothing. You should provide that. You should provide food. Like, you have a bunch of responsibilities, and maybe you also have a business that requires your attention. Like, it can be draining. Now imagine how much stressful it is to run a country if running a homestead is such a stressful and frustrating job. Okay, so leading a country is not easy. And I think sometimes when these politicians or leaders make mistakes and they kind of, fall off, or they show signs of inconsistencies, we should try to extend some grace and cut them some slack, and perhaps do our best to understand where the problem is, where the problem arises from. Because most people are not ready to become leaders of country. It's such a difficult thing to do. Most people are not ready, and most people are not equipped to lead something that is as huge, something that has more responsibilities as a country. Okay, and I'm saying that because there is something that is unfolding in the Kenyan political landscape, and we have seen these opposition leaders. They call themselves the United Opposition, and we have also seen this other group of politicians who also oppose the government. I'm talking the likes of the Sifunas and the Babu Owinos. And as Kenyans, we have tried to make Sifuna understand, or to let Sifuna know that we are ready for him. Okay, we have tried to let him know that if he decides to run for president, for the position of the president in this country, we will vote for him. But what has he done time and again? He has always declined our suggestion. We've suggested this. We've proposed this. We have told him time and again, hey, we think you should run for president. We are ready. We want you to be president of this country. But every single time, he has some sort of an excuse, or he has some sort of an explanation. Okay, he's always, I'm trying to create a movement that is way bigger than this. Bro, are you gonna be president or not? And don't get me wrong, I know things are not that easy. Okay, things are not that easy. This country needs work. This country needs a tremendous amount of work, and electing one guy to be president who seems to be, good and kind of has this country's best interest at heart is not going to solve all the problems. But at least if we have one guy who is willing to make policies and to pass laws that are going to benefit the average citizen in this country, then in my book, that is a plus. That is a win. That's a W. But this guy, this is the only guy that Kenyans really want to become president of this country, or at least a significant amount of Kenyans want to be the president of this country, especially the young generation, the millennials and the Gen Z really want this guy, to take the reins, okay, and lead this country. But each and every single time is like, no, I'm not ready. Hey, we have this, we gotta do that. And I'm like, bro, okay, there's a lot. I understand there's a lot that needs to be fixed. The system is fucking broken. There's so much damage in the system, okay? The cartels, the corruption, the inefficiencies in the system, the ignorance, the impunity in leaders, okay, and many entities. All those problems need to be addressed. But we will not address all those problems if we do not have one guy who is seriously foreseeing that those problems are properly addressed. Okay? That is why I'm like, most of these people are not ready. They are not ready to lead this country. They are not ready to step up and take the responsibility, because they know that there's a very big difference between actually being the guy who is driving or who is controlling, who has taken control of something, than being at the passenger seat criticizing the abilities of the driver. Because right now, that is what they are doing. They are criticizing the abilities of the driver, the guy who is driving this country, the guy who is controlling this country. That is way easier than taking control of the car, taking the steering wheel, and now starting controlling and driving the fucking car. It's way easier to criticize the abilities of the driver than actually drive yourself. So guys, those are some of the things I wanted us to talk about. I wanted to share my opinion on South Africa and how I do not approve of the solutions South Africans are implementing, because I think those are stupid and ignorant solutions that will not benefit the South Africans. It will not benefit Africa as a continent. You have to look at leaders like Thomas Sankara and Muammar Gaddafi. These were huge Pan-Africanists. And right now, you have to look at a leader like Ibrahim Traore, is a huge Pan-Africanist. And the one thing that they all share, the one thing they have in common is that these leaders had and have a vision for the entirety of Africa. They want to unite the African continent. Even Malema wants the same thing. I don't understand where this hatred South Africans have for fellow Africans come from. I mean, imagine those people. I don't want to say this, okay? I don't want to say this because I am not against any particular race. I don't want to seem like I'm a racist or something, but all I'm saying is that South Africans are fumbling. South Africans are messing up. South Africans are hurting their image in the African continent, because now imagine if every other country decides, you know what, if you're South African, you don't have business living and doing business in our country. Imagine if Nigeria decides to take the same stand as South Africa. Imagine if Ghana decides to do the same thing to South Africans as South Africa has done to Ghanaians. Imagine if Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania decide to do the same thing South Africa has done to their citizens over there. What do you think will happen? We are creating division when we should be building bridges and sharing ideas on how to advance this continent. And I have a theory. I'm a conspiracy theorist. And I can't help it but think maybe, I have a hunch that maybe all these chaos are being sponsored by, you know who. Because the likes of Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso are trying so hard to subdue their influence over there. But these guys are always finding, new vulnerable African countries to confuse and to use, to exploit. That is the most sad thing about Africa. Okay? And I'm not trying to say that we will not get better as Africans. I have so much hope for Africans, and we are showing a great deal of potential. And honestly, if you ask me to compare between African countries and the US, I'd say that most African countries are better than the US, because you look at the US, the situation of the US right now, you're like, what the fuck, man? Considering the amount of time you've had to develop as a country, to establish as a country, to progress as a country, to advance as a country, the only thing you have to show for 250 years of progress and independence and working on yourself and exploiting fucking Africans is this? Man, Americans, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You should be ashamed of yourselves, okay? Racism is still a problem over there. Drugs is still a huge epidemic over there. I mean, homelessness. You guys have not figured out homelessness? 250 years and you haven't figured out homelessness? You still killing politicians, assassinating people? Like, bro, what the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, you still bombing other countries? Like, the World Cup is happening right now, and the other day, Iran was eliminated from the tournament, and Americans were dancing. I mean, an official is dancing just because Iran got eliminated from the fucking tournament. What picture are you sending? You guys are still primitive, okay? You guys are still primitive. The only difference between you and Africans is the skin color. That's the only difference. But thinking level, here, you still have the same corruption problems. And you want to lecture us about corruption? You want to lecture us about democracy? Fuck you, man. Fuck you. America is not in a position to lecture anyone on anything. You've had 250 years of developing your country and you haven't developed that much. Most of African countries that you're blaming, that you're comparing to, that you're still exploiting have had maybe 50, 60, some countries about 10 years like South Sudan. South Sudan has had like 10 years to develop as a country. Kenya has had like 60 years to develop as a country. Uganda, bro, and you want to, journalists are coming to Uganda and they are criticizing and scrutinizing and insulting a president of an African country just because he's not democratic. Fuck you, man. Fuck you. Go get your shit together and then come to Africa, start lecturing us. If you become as advanced, maybe as Singapore or Japan, you put your shit together, corruption becomes less and less of a problem in the USA, maybe you can now start talking to us. Okay? Maybe you can start talking to us, but if you haven't figured that out, fuck you, man. Fuck you, bro. So, I think I made this video to say that South Africans, you should do better. Africans, those people you're annihilating in your country are your brothers and sisters. Those people are the reason why your economy is doing better over there. Those Africans employed your brothers and sisters. Now you're ruining your image in the African community. In Africa, we don't do that. In Africa, we raise each other kids, man. Like we share. That is what we do here. That is our culture. Okay? And I also want to say that there is an element of foreign interference in this situation, and I'm not surprised, or I will not be surprised, if the likes of the World Bank and some private entities in America are responsible for this. I will not be surprised. So guys, you know what to do. Subscribe, man. Subscribe, like, share. See you next time.